Hey guys, it's Jessica. So today I am going to tell you what my CFY year was actually like. So let me just preface this by saying that my CFY year was not your typical CFY experience. For anyone who's watching who happens to not be an SLP, the CFY year stands for Clinical Fellowship Year. And that is a year when you have to have a certain number of hours supervised by a fully licensed speech language pathologist. So, what happened to me was when I was in graduate school, I, was almost done, almost ready to graduate. So I start applying for jobs. And for some reason, I had it in my head that I would never work in a school. I had heard so many horror stories that I thought that was the worst job there could possibly be for pediatric SLP. So I send out all of my applications. I'm looking for outpatient facilities, and I was looking at home health agencies. And the first interview I had was with a home health agency. And we met at a Starbucks, and she bought my drink, and she's going on and on about how she loves to hire new graduates from our school and, how wonderful I am. And she's like feeding my new grad ego. And she's telling me that if I work full time for them, I'm going to make $80,000+ a year. What I didn't understand at the time was that to make $80,000 a year and to be full-time at a home health agency required me to have a full caseload. And home health just doesn't come with a fully furnished caseload, or at least it didn't at this company. I had to build my caseload, and I didn't know what that meant. I don't even remember if it was explained to me. But I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm like, $80,000 a year? Yeah, I could do that. So I don't even interview anymore. No, I did interview in other places. I interviewed for a couple of school districts, and the price difference and what I thought I was going to be making and what I could make at the schools were very different. So I decided to go with the more flexible sounding job and with more money at the home health agency. So what happened was I signed the contract, and they got me a supervisor, and it took weeks for me to get one kid. And then that was one kid, and I think I needed 16 or something like that to be full-time. And if I'm not working, I can't count my hours towards my CFY, and I wasn't getting paid. So slowly more clients started dribbling in, but they were dribbling in from all over the Metroplex. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I was driving 20, 30, sometimes even 45 minutes in between kids because I was taking whatever they would give me. And I never got more than 8 or something like that. And then I learned that Medicaid takes away patients randomly. They just decide not to reimburse. So I would have 8 kids, and the next month later I'd have 6 kids. So I could never get to that beautiful 16 number of kids. And since I was never working full time, I could never count my hours full time. So I did this from about May until December. And then I was like, okay, something's got to change. I've got to find more work. Because at that time my husband was still in school, and he was waiting tables, and I was supposed to be making the money. So I found an outpatient facility, and I decided that on Mondays and Wednesdays and on Tuesdays and Thursdays I would go to this clinic, and I would supplement my hours, having the exact same problem. Because I wasn't full-time, I could never get full-time work hours. There goes my dog. And I could never get like full-time pay hours for like money, and I couldn't get it for my CFY. So it just quickly became apparent to me that I was not going to be doing my CFY year in a year. And that was very stressful and frustrating to me. The other thing that was very stressful and frustrating is I actually had 2 different supervisors. I had one at home health, and then I had one in the outpatient facility. The home health one was amazing, but because it was home health, she really only saw me. Here comes my other dog. Hi. You say hi? Say hi. So I could never see her more than, I mean, she did the minimum required by ASHA, and it was not a lot. It wasn't helpful, just because she was doing her own caseload and she was having to try to find time to drive to my kids on top of hers. At the outpatient clinic, the supervisor didn't like me, and that is the way to say it. We had a clash of personalities, and I had actually been told when I was hired on at this facility that if a full-time position became available, that they would consider me. Well, a full-time position did become available because they had an extremely high turnover rate of clinicians, which I also didn't realize at the time was something to probably be cautious about. So they had an extremely high turnover rate, and they like to hire CFYs. There is a time and place for that, but if that's all the clinic is hiring because they're trying to save money, just be cautious is all I'm going to say about that. So we had some personality clashes. She was always very busy. She wasn't the one fully certified SLP, but she was always running around trying to do management tasks. And she didn't really spend a lot of time actually teaching me. She spent times tearing apart my reports, is what I remember when I think of her, literally tearing them apart for commas and periods and punctuations, and not the actual content that I think is important in a speech pathology report. So I had some frustrating, I am really sorry about my dogs, guys. I had some frustrating experience with the money and getting my hours. I had frustrating experience with my supervisors feeling like they didn't teach me what I needed to know to be a really good SLP. And I will tell you that supervisor that I clashed with told me I was not going to be a good SLP. She just didn't think I had what it took. And I will tell you now, that crushed me then, and I think she's wrong. I think I'm actually a pretty good SLP because I know myself, and I know that I have a drive to continue to learn and to continue to get better. And no, I wasn't perfect as a CFY. Nobody is. We have a lot to learn, and I think it's important for the supervisor to teach you. However, I will say, if you are in a position where you feel like, I'm sorry, my dog is cracking me up. If you feel like you're in a position where your CFY, oh my gosh, supervisor, sorry, blanked on that word, is not helping you, then I hope you can find, there is such a great community online. I hope you can find my videos or my blog to help you, or my resources on TPT, but not just me. There's some other really great people in the online community that I've personally learned from, that I hope you can learn from as well. So keep looking. If you're not getting the help that you feel like you need, I promise there are lots and lots of resources online if you just stick around. Lots of free resources. But if I can ever help you in any way, I would love to. Send me a comment or a message or something, and I'll see what I can do to help you out if you have any questions with whatever. So, after a full year, I did not meet my CFY requirements. And I decided, I actually was treating this little boy, and his mom worked for the local school district. She was a diagnostician. And the mom and I clicked, and I loved working with the little boy, and I was telling her that I was going to be looking for another job. I was applying for her district, and she goes, oh, well, you need to let me be one of your references. And so she ended up being a reference for me, and I ended up being able to work in that district, and I loved it. And the ironic thing is, remember I told you how I thought I would never ever work in a school district? That was my dream job for 4 years. I was placed in a unit with a self-control, or a school with a self-contained autism unit, and a kindergarten PPCD unit, and it was crazy and it was insane and it was hard, but I grew and I learned so much more as an SLP working in the schools than I did in the year that I was struggling to make it in home health and in an outpatient facility. I will also say this has been very real. I mean, this is me telling you this is what happened, and this is how I obviously feel about these things. Everybody's experience is different. I know that there are some people who've probably had really amazing experiences working in home health, and really amazing experiences working in an outpatient facility, and really horrible experiences working in a school. Everybody's experience is different, and everybody's got to find what works for them, and they've got to find their path. So I don't say this to like scare anybody or to sound like a Debbie Downer, because it really did all work out for the best for me. If I hadn't gone through that year, that really hard year, I wouldn't have learned a lot about myself, and I wouldn't have been in that position to get the job in the school district. Ironically, that job, I had applied at that district the year before when I was looking to do my CFY, and I didn't get offered a position. I didn't get offered the position until after I went through that CFY year. And then I got placed at a school that I loved, and I met friends that I loved. And actually, the girl who got me started on my TPT journey, she worked at that school. So no complaints. Everybody's on their own path, and everything always seems to just work out the way it's supposed to work out. So I would love it if you would leave me a comment and tell me about your CFY year. And go ahead and just subscribe and like this video if you found it interesting. And I'll talk to y'all later.